Imagine a world where, the messenger of the creator is washing toilets,
Right.
where a billionaire is literally starving to death,
Okay.
where the emperor is the most foolish person in the room, and where a brilliant historian is bowing down just for a bowl of rice.
Yeah, it completely flips the script on how we assume the world works. I mean, that image right there just dismantles our entire concept of who gets rewarded, who gets punished, and why.
Exactly. But what if that total inversion of expectations isn't random?
Right.
What if that historian begging for rice isn't a victim of bad luck or, a broken society, but the result of an inescapable, mathematically precise cosmic equation?
It's a heavy thought.
It is. And today's deep dive explores a fascinating text from August 2020 by an author named Xu Feng. It's called Constants of Life, and the Balance Mechanism of the Universe. And our mission today is to really unpack this worldview that argues absolutely everything about your existence is hard-coded.
Yeah, and we should probably address that title right away because the capitalization is very deliberate there.
Oh, right. The two different versions of the word life.
Exactly. So the author differentiates between life with a lowercase l and life in all caps.
Okay.
Lowercase life refers to your biological shell, so your flesh, blood, physical functions. All caps life points to the broader spiritual or karmic journey, your fate, your essence. And the core premise of the text is that both of these realms are governed by absolute unyielding balance.
Which brings us to a really difficult pill to swallow. I mean, the author claims that when you look at the bizarre ironies of the world, like that starving billionaire, there is actually no one to condemn and no one to praise.
Yeah, the determinism in this text really forces you to look at human behavior through a completely sterile lens.
Right.
The author argues that if you were put in the exact background of that billionaire or that historian, under those exact same universal conditions, you would do the exact same thing. It removes judgment from the equation entirely.
But to buy into this, we really have to define our terms here. Because when I hear the word constant, my mind immediately goes back to, like, high school physics.
Sure. Stuff like gravity, or the fact that water boils at a specific temperature. Is the author using the actual scientific definition of a constant here, or is this purely metaphorical?
No, the text roots its argument entirely in the scientific definition before making its big philosophical leap. The author defines a constant as a quantification, a law of repeated operations, an invisible natural phenomenon that just blankets the entire universe.
Okay.
So in mathematics, we accept pi, the golden ratio, the Pythagorean constant. In physics, we accept standard atmospheric pressure at sea level, gravitational constant.
Right.
And in chemistry, things like molecular formulas, precise melting points, and density.
The stuff that allows us to build suspension bridges and fly airplanes.
Exactly.
I mean, if gravity wasn't a constant, we'd float off the Earth. If boiling points fluctuated randomly, cooking dinner would be a deadly guessing game. So I understand the physics, but the text makes a massive, running leap from molecular weights straight into human biology. It does. The author's logic is that since constants are a universal phenomenon governing all matter and energy, there's absolutely no reason why human biology would somehow be exempt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So physical death is a constant. It cannot be changed by desire or effort. But the text goes much, much deeper into the mechanics of our bodies. The exact number of breaths you will take in your entire life is listed as a constant.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the exact number of pulse beats your heart will make. It's all fixed.
Okay, let's unpack this because it reminds me of buying a new smartphone.
Okay, I like that.
When you unbox a new phone, we all accept that the hardware specs are fixed. The screen size is exactly 6.1 inches. The battery capacity is 3,000 milliamp hours. That's a constant.
Right, you can't change the hardware.
Exactly. But the author here is basically arguing that the user's behavior, like how many times you will open an app, how many text messages you will send over the life of the phone, that is hard-coded into the device before it even leaves the factory.
That analogy maps perfectly onto what the text calls the constants of life, with the lowercase l.
Okay.
Because it removes biological agency entirely. Right. You might think you're choosing to go for a jog, and therefore you are choosing to increase your heart rate. But in this framework, your body is just executing a mathematical script.
Just playing out the code.
Exactly. The final tally of your pulse beats is already written in ink, just as certain as the fact that you have a specific number of bones, eyes, or hairs on your head.
Wow.
The text even explicitly claims that the exact number of times you will have sex in your lifetime is a fixed, predetermined number.
Which is just a wild concept to sit with. I mean, aside from our bones and eyes, we view everything you just listed as the direct result of our daily choices.
Right, our free will.
Yeah. But if I'm understanding this, if the lowercase constants of life dictate my heartbeats, then the all caps constants of life must be like the cosmic ledger that dictates my social reality.
You hit the nail on the head. That is the next layer of the text, what the author calls the most difficult things to determine, but they are constants nonetheless. This is where the universe tracks the broader trajectory of your existence.
Okay, a cosmic ledger. I'm guessing this means it dictates the big stuff, like
Yeah.
whether I win the lottery or end up completely bankrupt.
It goes even further than that. I mean, yes, the text states that the exact amount of wealth you will accumulate is fixed, but it also dictates how many blessings you will enjoy and how many hardships you are going to endure.
Really?
Yeah. Whether you will be respected and loved by people, your luck with the opposite sex, how many children you will have. It determines if you will travel abroad, whether you will live in a villa, what official ranks you will achieve.
Oh, wow.
It even dictates if you will eventually become a Buddha or a celestial being.
For you listening right now, try to translate that into your modern daily reality. Think about your ambitions, getting that promotion to VP, taking that dream vacation to Tokyo, paying off your mortgage.
The daily grind.
Right. We spend so much energy, so much anxiety trying to optimize our lives to reach those goals. But if your exact degree of success, the precise dollar amount that will pass through your bank account is already a mathematical constant, it begs a huge question.
Which is.
So, what does this all mean for how we actually live our day-to-day lives? Does the author want us to just throw our hands up and give up?
Well, the natural reaction to this level of fatalism is despair or, just total apathy.
Sure.
But the author arrives at a surprisingly counterintuitive takeaway here, which is radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance.
Yeah. The text specifically instructs that you shouldn't envy others, and you shouldn't look down on anyone. You shouldn't lament your own fate, nor should you feel ashamed of yourself.
Because it's not their fault they succeeded, and it's not your fault you failed. It's just the ledger balancing itself out.
Exactly. The ego is completely removed. And the text warns against swinging the other way into complacency, too. You shouldn't be self-satisfied when things are going great, because you never know when what they call an unexpected big stick is going to strike you dizzy.
An unexpected big stick. I like that phrasing.
Right. By the same token, you shouldn't despair during extreme hardship, because the god of happiness might arrive in the very next second. We are just witnessing the constants at work, adjusting the universal mechanism.
But a philosophy like this is just, dorm room chatter until it hits the real world. It is incredibly easy to sit in an armchair and say, well, everything is predetermined.
Oh, absolutely.
It is much harder to live that out when the stakes are literally life and death. And the author actually provides a highly specific real-world application of this belief.
Yes, we get a deeply personal anecdote from the author, set during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And it's worth pausing here because this is a highly controversial stance, especially considering the timing in August 2020.
Right, very early on.
Right. And just observing this objectively as a piece of philosophy, we are staying completely neutral here. The author's logic is a fascinating stress test of their own theory.
Exactly. We're just looking at how they apply their own rules. So the text details a trip the author took to Kamloops Hospital, which was over 230 kilometers away. The author notes it is a large, high-end hospital.
Okay.
And as you would expect during a global epidemic, the vast majority of people inside the building are wearing masks to reduce the risk of viral infection.
Sure.
But the author explicitly states they refuse to wear one.
Because doing so would contradict the constants.
Right. The author provides their underlying creed here, which ties directly back to the ledger we just discussed. The text argues that if you were supposed to die, you would die even if you wore a mask that completely covered your entire body.
Go.
Conversely, if you were not supposed to die, you would not die, even if you were immersed in a tank full of viruses and actively wanted to perish.
Wait, so he's basically saying that trying to avoid your fate is mathematically impossible. It's like trying to cool down a thermometer with an ice cube and thinking you've changed the weather outside.
That's a great way to put it.
The author views the mask as a completely futile intervention against a fixed universal mechanism. It's like trying to legislate that pi isn't 3.14159, but is just, a flat 3.2.
And that is exactly the author's argument. The text actually uses a mathematical analogy to drive this point home. The author asks, quote, "What should happen will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide.
Wow.
Yeah. For the author, believing that a human intervention could change your predetermined lifespan is as absurd as believing you could just round down the value of pi. The universe does not round down. The math cannot be legislated by human anxiety.
The sheer unflinching fatalism of walking into a hospital in August 2020 and just trusting the math. I mean, it really highlights how absolute this worldview is.
It really does.
But it leaves a massive gap in the explanation for me. We keep talking about the universe enforcing this balance. What is the actual engine driving it? How does the universe mathematically track who gets the unexpected big stick and who gets the god of happiness?
Well, the author explains the how through a concept we use in physics, which is energy conservation.
Yeah.
But the text scales it up into a cosmic moral law. The central mechanism is that the sum of all positive and negative energy in the universe is always zero. Zero is the ultimate equilibrium point.
So it's a closed system. Nothing is ever created or destroyed. It's just shifted around.
Right. And the core rule of this closed system is that any development, any action or status that reaches an extreme is mechanically forced to return to zero. It's like stretching a rubber band.
Okay.
The further you pull it away from its resting state, the 0 point, the more violently it will eventually snap back.
Which explains the seemingly random punishments and rewards in life. If you push too hard in one direction, the universe snaps you back to maintain the zero sum.
Yes, exactly.
And the text uses some very grounded, everyday examples to illustrate this rubber band effect, right?
It does. The author argues we can map this mechanism just by observing everyday human behavior. For instance, if you enjoy too much when you were young, if you hoard positive energy early on, the universe balances the equation by ensuring you suffer when you are old.
If you talk too much, eventually the universe will engineer a situation that forces you to shut up.
Yeah, or if you eat too much meat and fish or waste food at the dining table, you are pulling the rubber band. The balance dictates that one day you will be hungry or you might even starve.
Oh, wow, that's intense.
If you beat or hurt others, you generate negative energy that will ultimately result in you being beaten and hurt.
So it's gravity, but for karma.
Pretty much.
If you own too much, if you accumulate massive wealth or possessions, the text says the universe will fret you continuously until you are forced to, quote, spit it all out.
The 0 point is the ultimate leveler. If you are too complacent, you are mechanically bound to lose face and look bad in the end just to restore the equilibrium.
And this rubber band snapback doesn't just apply to everyday people wasting food at a buffet. The author scales this mechanism up to the absolute highest levels of global power, using a very specific historical figure to prove that no one escapes the 0 point.
Right. To demonstrate that the math is impartial to human hierarchy, the author points to Saddam Hussein.
And stepping back as impartial observers again here, we're just looking at how the text applies its own rules to extreme geopolitical power, neither endorsing nor condemning.
Exactly. So the author notes that Saddam Hussein, as the commander-in-chief of the Iraqi armed forces, flaunted his might and dominance.
Okay.
In the context of the text's philosophy, he reached an absolute extreme of positive energy, meaning worldly power and control. But the universe's mechanism cannot tolerate an extreme.
The rubber band was pulled too far.
Right. It forced a violent return to 0. He never expected to be hanged, but the constant demanded the ledger be balanced. The author actually asks the reader directly, quote, "Do you think you are more powerful than Saddam was?"
That is a sobering question. Do you really think you can outsmart the math?
The text is uncompromising on this. It explicitly states that in front of these constants, even gods, Buddhas, and celestial beings cannot escape being constrained.
Wow, even the divine.
Yes, the law of returning to 0 binds the divine just as tightly as it binds a human being.
Okay, let's take a breath and look at the fortress this author has built here. We are living in a closed system universe. Our biological functions are essentially a countdown clock. Our wealth and social standing are predetermined.
Right.
Any success or excess we manage to scrape together pulls a rubber band that will inevitably snap back and punish us to maintain a cosmic 0. I mean, it is an incredibly heavy reality.
It's very oppressive if you leave it there.
But then the text introduces a twist, right? An escape clause. Is there any loophole? Does the author offer any way to escape being crushed by this universal math?
Yes, and this is really the philosophical climax of the entire piece. After establishing this impenetrable zero-sum game, the author reveals there is a way to escape being constrained by the constants.
Hold on, though. I have a massive problem with this logic.
Okay, what is it?
If my breaths are a constant, if the amount of money I make is a constant, Then isn't my decision to use this escape hatch also a predetermined constant? How can you offer free will in a universe that mathematically forbids it?
That is the ultimate philosophical paradox of the text. What's fascinating here is that the author frames the solution not as a way to change the math of the physical and karmic realms, but as a way to transcend that specific dimensional plane entirely.
Oh, I see.
The text calls this escape route the way of the greatest creator, or the way of nature.
So you aren't changing the rules of the game, you are stepping off the board.
Exactly.
How do you do that? What is the actual method?
A method is selfless dedicating and giving.
Selfless dedicating and giving.
Yeah. Think about the mechanics of the 0 point. In a universe where hoarding positive energy, whether that is wealth, food, power, or even just talking too much, guarantees a violent negative reaction to drag you back to 0. The only logical way to avoid the snapback is to willingly give your energy away.
Because if you are constantly emptying your own cup, the universe never has a reason to forcefully knock it out of your hand.
That's exactly it. By being selfless, by dedicating and giving without expectation of return, you are voluntarily operating at the 0 point.
Wow.
You aren't triggering the universe's defense mechanisms. You are aligning yourself with the flow of nature rather than trying to build a dam against it. Selflessness literally removes you from the ledger. You can't be balanced out if you are already holding nothing.
That is a brilliant piece of philosophical engineering. It takes this terrifying, oppressive structure of cosmic determinism and flips it into a profound argument for radical generosity.
It really does. It strips away our illusions of control, but it replaces that anxiety with a path to peace. If you accept the constants, you no longer have to fight the universe. You just have to flow with it by giving to others.
What an incredible journey this deep dive has been. We started by looking at the unbending mathematical constants of pi and gravity. We moved into the, frankly, unsettling realization that our physical bodies, the predetermined number of heartbeats, the breaths we take, might just be executing a fixed script.
Right.
We explored the cosmic ledger, tracking our wealth, our suffering, and our luck, enforcing a strict rule of energy conservation where every extreme must return to 0.
We saw the author test this philosophy in a hospital during a pandemic, trusting the unyielding math of fate over human intervention. And we watched how extreme power, like that of historical dictators, inevitably triggers the universe's mechanical snapback.
And finally, we found the loophole. The realization that in a universe obsessed with balance, the only way to survive the math is to stop playing the game for yourself and embrace selfless dedicating and giving.
It really forces you to look at your own daily grind through a completely different lens.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with, you listening right now. Something to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
Okay.
If the author is right, and the exact number of breaths you will take in your entire lifetime is already a fixed, inescapable constant, does knowing that fact change how you choose to spend your very next breath?
Oh, that's a good question.
If you use that next breath to selflessly give to someone else, are you breaking the universe's equation or are you finally solving it?
A powerful question to leave on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating exploration and we appreciate you taking the time to unpack it with us. We'll catch you next time.